Hi guys, it's Lexi. So since I graduated college yesterday, I thought that I would come on here and talk about my college experience. So if you've been following me for a while, you will know that my mother moved up here when I graduated high school because she wanted to be near me to help me, and that did not go very well. Yeah. So my freshman year, I lived with her in the town that I went to college in, and it was not fun. And then my second semester of my freshman year, my mother decided that she didn't want to take me to class anymore, and I had to do online because at this point I didn't have caregivers, so that was fun. She said very sarcastically. It wasn't fun at all, but yeah, and then, also during the second half of my freshman year, my brother moved in with us, so that was a pretty hard transition on me, and we didn't get along either, so that made it hard too. So then my second semester, of my freshman year, I had a breakdown and begged my mom to let me live on campus. And my sophomore year is when I got helpers, and I got to live on campus for the first time. That didn't go very well because my mom was always trying to train them and be overbearing with them, so it would always chase them away, and then I would be like stuck in bed for days. Well, not days, but like hours that felt like days. And then I had to have other people help me because she would leave me places and I'd be stuck, so I would have to ask people around me for help, and then school found out and I got in trouble. So that was fun. Once again, I'm being sarcastic. And then March of my sophomore year, so this would be March of 2020, we had the unfortunate event of COVID-19, which kind of shocked the world and ruined a lot of things for a lot of people. And my mom lived too close to the dorms, so I had to move back with her and my brother for 8 months. And that was probably one of the hardest times of my life that there was. Don't get me wrong, my life is hard now, but that was an especially challenging time for me. I had a really bad depression episode, and my anxiety was really bad, and I was just struggling mentally really bad during COVID, which I'm sure everybody was, but for me, I really struggled because I can't move very well without help. You guys have seen me walk around and stuff on videos, and you've seen me go to the gym. But, yeah, I can't really move around that great without help, so I had to kind of do whatever my mother was up for. And, I had to do online school again, which online school and me don't really mix. So that was hard, but I got through it somehow. And then October of 2020, I decided I couldn't take living with my mom and my brother anymore, so I moved to my own apartment close to campus and got helpers, and yeah, that was the first time I moved out. Officially, I was 21 years old at that time. Yeah. So, I lived in an apartment with people that had medical conditions like mine, because I have cerebral palsy, but as you all know, I don't use a wheelchair, because I can't physically or mentally use one. So, a lot of my neighbors at that time were in wheelchairs, and they didn't really understand my life and how I chose to live it. So, it was hard because I felt really alone. I only had my one best friend that lived in the dorms at the time. And he would come over and keep me company and stuff like that. And that's what made college bearable at that time. And then the following semester, I found out my friend wasn't coming back to college, and I had a really hard time with it, but we still get to see each other, and we stay in touch to this day. So, you guys have seen me travel to go see him, because I typically film whenever I go down there to see him. Yeah, so you guys have seen that, but I met my best friend in college, if y'all were wondering. Yeah. Because my mom would take forever to come pick me up from class, and then he would just sit and talk with me and make sure I was okay, and that really stuck with me and meant a lot to me, and then he started to help me with a lot of things. As our friendship progressed, because the caregivers weren't that great at the time. Yeah. And then during COVID, because he lived far enough away from the dorms that they would let him stay during, they would let them stay during when the dorms were limited to people that only lived far away from campus. And then during COVID, I would go and hang out with him and stuff like that, and that really helped my mental health, because living with my family was not fun. So he helped me through a lot. And then when I found out that he wasn't gonna come back to college the next semester, I had a really rough time with it, and then I started to travel to go see him, which helped a lot, and I miss him a lot, but I'll be able to see him eventually. Yeah. So 2021, I moved back into the dorms because I didn't like I didn't like my apartment, because like I said, a lot of the because a lot of the neighbors had wheelchairs and they didn't understand how I lived and stuff like that. So that was really hard. So I didn't like it there. So as soon as the dorms opened back up to everyone is when I moved into the dorms, and that was August of 2021. So my junior year, yeah. I wasn't quite 22 at that time, but I turned 22 shortly after. And then the spring semester of 2022, I started to have caregiver issues because they would leave me in bed, not take me to class, and stuff like that. So I was having a really hard time with class. And then this one dude that I met during COVID, we started to hang out a little bit, and we would talk a lot. He decided he wanted to help me during that time because he felt bad that I was stuck in bed. So he would help me for a little bit, and then he got tired of it. This was spring of 2022. So I would be stuck in bed all the time, and then people at school would report it, and then I would get in trouble, and then around February of 2022, my roommate at the time got COVID and somehow gave it to me, even though I'm never around my roommate. But I wasn't around my roommate enough to make it spread. But I guess living in the same area, the germs just spread. So then I had to quarantine with my father for 5 days, which was not fun because I had to do classes through Zoom, and that wasn't fun. And then I was just stuck in a bedroom all day doing homework, and it was really hard to keep up because I was just depressed at the time. And then about a month after that, the caregiver that I had at the time had quit, so I got a new one. And then I got another new one, and then that's when it got too much for the guy that was being my backup helper. And then my morning helper decided not to show up one day in mid-March. So my backup helper got me to class, and then he said that he was gonna go say hi to another professor, but I knew that when he was gone for a long time that he was telling the teacher everything. And then I was stuck outside my classroom, and I had to have help in because I didn't know where I assumed that he went to class, but I didn't know where I wasn't quite sure where he went. But, so I got help into class that day, and then, my agency called me twice during the duration of the class, and I knew something was going on because it wasn't normal, but obviously I was in class, so I couldn't answer, and then they proceeded to tell me that the caregiver that was supposed to pick me up from class had called off for the next 2 days, and then I started to panic because, I didn't know how I was gonna get out of the classroom, so then I called the guy that was my backup care, and then he told me it was too much on him and that he didn't want to do it anymore. So I was stuck in the classroom for 3 hours, and then I had to call emergency help to come get me, and it was just bad. And then at that point, I had a mental breakdown, and I called my counselor at school and told her what was going on, and then that led to my first hospital admission. The first time I was there for 2 weeks, so this was the end of March to the beginning of April 2022, and I knew that I was not gonna be able to keep up with all the work that I missed from missing class and stuff, because I couldn't focus or anything. I just had so much going on mentally that I couldn't really focus on school at that time. And then, my father had came up briefly when I got discharged from the hospital because they couldn't find caregivers to help me. So my father had helped me for the weekend, and it wasn't terrible, but it didn't go as well as I hoped it would. So yeah. And then I was still struggling mentally, so when I didn't have caregivers, my coping skills weren't the best, and I ended up back in the mental hospital for a second time. This was the end of April 2022, so I did not get to finish the semester. When I was in the mental hospital the first time, I found out that my roommate at the time had moved out because she didn't like that I asked her for help so much. But she didn't even talk to me. She just kind of complained to her mom, and then her mom called the school, and then a room change happened, and it made me really angry because I wasn't made aware of it until I was in the hospital talking to my school counselor. Yeah, so that was a really hard transition because I had to go back and be alone, and that messed with my mental state even more. And yeah, when I went to the hospital the second time, it was because my caregivers kept quitting, and I didn't know how to cope with it, and I was just really struggling because, yeah, And then the hospital didn't really know what to do with me because when I was in the hospital the second time, I had a judicial hearing for the complaints that came in when I was at the dorm. And then the hearing went on, and then the decision of that hearing was to involuntarily and permanently kick me out of the campus housing, like, permanently for that school, so I wasn't allowed to go back to the dorm ever again. So the hospital had to figure out what to do with me at that point, and it was just a really hard time for me. And yeah, so I ended up getting discharged from the geriatric unit of the hospital. If you don't know what geriatric means, it's basically like elderly people. For the first month and a half, I would say for the first month, I was on the adult floor, like the normal adult floor and stuff. And then I think they decided to move me because they were having issues and they needed the bed. But being in a psychiatric facility with a bunch of old people was not fun, and I do not handle quiet very well, so that wasn't very good for me, and my coping skills weren't the best. And yeah, and then on June 21st of 2022, they discharged me to an empty apartment where the helpers treated me like shit. They wouldn't let me go anywhere. It was just bad. And then August of 2022, I started back in school. Because I had failed out of spring semester of 2022 because I was barely in class. So I had to retake all of the classes that I didn't pass. So yeah, August of 2022, I started back at school, and I remember telling the people at the facility that I was in that I started school on a specific date and that I really needed a helper, and then they didn't send me a helper on that date. So I decided to be brave and get on the bus and go to school by myself. And after the first day of classes, they found out that I was there by myself, and I got suspended for 2 weeks. And then I was able to go back to school on my 23rd birthday. And then, yeah, so. And then I think I only had 2 classes. That semester, and then spring semester of 2023 is when I retook the other classes that I didn't pass the year before because of everything I had going on. And so I had finished all my classes by May of 2023. And then all I had left was my internship. And originally I planned to do my internship fall of 2023, but I decided to do it early. So I got a placement, and then after a week, the physical therapy place that I was interning at decided they didn't want me there anymore because I wasn't helping enough. Like, there wasn't enough that I could do with my walker and everything. So they decided it wasn't the best place for me, and then I had to find another internship. But before I found another internship for school, I got an internship for the rest of the summer through this company that helps people with medical conditions find work. And I couldn't use that internship for school because it had nothing to do with the field. The internship that I had in summer of 2023 was clerical work, so it had nothing to do with exercise science. And then in the fall of 2023, I got an internship on the campus gym, which I thought was perfect because I could work out and do work by the desk in the same day. So, I started on my 24th birthday, but my agency wanted me to use a wheelchair at school because the, helpers were complaining about the walker. So, yeah, that didn't go very well because I have panic attacks and flashbacks and nightmares about being trapped in a chair and not allowed out because when I was a kid I was tied down to them. So I have PTSD from that. So, I kept having panic attacks at school because the helpers were forcing me into the wheelchair, and after the second one, they decided to terminate my internship. So, what happened was they gave me 6 credits for the hours that I completed, and then I had to take 2 extra classes to make up for the other credits that I needed to graduate. So then, because I didn't have a helper to go to school at this point, I finished my degree online. So I did 2 online classes this last semester, and I was basically, it was torture. I didn't like it. But I finished it, and I graduated yesterday. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that during the summer of 2023, I also moved from the apartment that I was in to a house that has 24-hour care, but I don't really like it either, and I'm trying to move somewhere else. So yeah, I'm in the process of that, but yeah, that's basically my college journey. It took me 6 years to get 2 bachelor's degrees. I have a Bachelor of Science in Psychology and a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science. Yeah, and I will post graduation pictures at the end of this video. But yeah, that is the shortened version of my college experience. I'm hoping grad school will be better. The only good thing that came out of these last 6 years was my best friend that I mentioned towards the beginning of this video, and I couldn't have done it without him. So, yeah. That was my college experience. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you for watching. Here are the graduation pictures. I hope you enjoyed.